Greetings ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest video. There is no epic loot here, only puns, taken from the website ReUpload. The link to the story will be down below. If you wish to support the author, please head over there and give them support. If you wish to support the channel, there are numerous ways to do so down below. There is Discord, merch, Patreon, bunch of other stuff too, so have a look in the description, you might be surprised. Anyways, now on to the fiction. As always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 159. The Bureaucracy of Hypocrisy. This is an issue, one of the people said, looking out across the round table at the others. The white tents, adorned with two hands clasped over a dungeon core, were warm and adorned with furniture in the same white vein. The only real splash of color was the ink upon the maps strewn across the tabletop. Corridors and rooms marked in comments and question marks. Issue? Gayton emerges looking haunted. Trisham was humming to herself that same horrid tune, and groups 1 to 3 are either resigning or requesting transfers. Came the cold tones of a much older woman in a white hood that hid her features. Director Ripdoy sent his boy here, thinking that it was a run-of-the-mill dungeon scouting mission. He won't like any report we send to him, she continued with a sigh. How were we supposed to know that this is that village, the self-made prison of monsters? I presumed that it was a joke we told to aging adventurers, that their retirement plans involved moving here. It was to be that, a jest, the smaller man announced with a huff. His more rotund figure made him look like a freshly peeled onion in his robes. We don't have the total legal right of the dungeon. The dungeon itself is abnormal enough that I worry of corruption. And to top it off, the people here aren't green. Some of these people have cleared more dungeons in their prime than we have on file back at headquarters, the first man said as he eyed the blank section of the first floor where Trisha went. She refused to explain anything about the hidden passage, her men reported. If she didn't cooperate then, they would simply have to ferret the secret out with more hired grunts. Enough panicking, it's unbecoming, came a new voice. The three turned to the men walking in through the tent flap with a posture akin to a marble pillar, unbending and pristine. Sir Kaline, they all muttered in greeting as he moved towards the table. On his chest, a badge of 4 fingers grasping around an orb was displayed in a flickering candlelight. The 2 men only had 2 fingers on their badges, while the woman's badge had adorned with 3. We were not aware that you were in this convoy, the short man said quickly. I arrived a few minutes ago, he said simply, and around his frame, the crackles of magic were visible from a long-range teleportation. The gate is being set up. There was no need to waste resources, the woman said with a slight hint of disgust at the blatant use of company power. I find it prudent that we have time to talk amongst ourselves before the company comes en masse, Kaline said, as he pushed his dark hair back. Long threads of hair were deep white, but Kaline was still a young man with striking features akin to a bird of prey. The rotund man snapped his fingers, and the powerful silence ward sprung up around the tent, along with a few more nasty surprises. Fellow workers of Fairplay, we gather here of the company for one reason alone, Kaline announced as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny chest with a large golden lock on it. Even from inside the container, the energy of the object within made the other 3 in the room shiver from the potent pressure it exuded. They're ready? The first man asked, with aspects of excitement and horror lacing his words. Kaline opened the box with a key from his pocket, letting mana wash over the room. The siblings, have mercy on us, the woman said, voice hoarse. There will be no mercy for us, sister. We will be the sinners of Fairplay, and we will unleash a divide in the company like never before. But we all agreed, Kaline said, the glow from the box casting shadows across his face as he looked down at it. Felinant Ripdoy must die. The other 3 nodded. And with his death, his child will inherit the company, and if he proves to be as deluded as his father, then the cycle will continue, Kaline concluded as he put the box away. Step 1, place the boy at the scene of the crime when we reach the dungeon core. We shall continue to throw grunts and hired hands at the dungeon to keep up appearances. Once the dungeon has either tipped its hand or lowered its guard, we shall activate the keys. Gayline said simply, patting the box in his coat. And if Riptoy catches wind of this little drama we've enacted, the woman asked coldly. We shall see his approach far before his arrival. Fairplay goes where he wills it, and if he wills it, all of Fairplay will come, Gayline responded, smiling at the thought. All they had to do was keep a leash on Argus Gentle and reach the core. It sounded simple, but they eyed the maps with long looks. My dad, Gentle mused as a weirdo skeleton as it helped goblins set up a weirder wagon of goods. Yes, I heard old Philly and the really gotten things in order, the skeleton said brightly. Gentle winced at the name, knowing how much his father disliked nicknames. Do you know my dad? Gentle blinked at the odd statement. Would your father know a skeleton in the middle of nowhere? The bone man responded cheerfully. Well, no, Gentle began, and the skeleton patted him on the back. The name's very, very happy. Business consultant, musician, lover of milk, and by the by, I do stand-up comedy if you ever I need a party entertainer, the skeleton said, as he slipped Gentle a business card. Gentle looked at the card, and then at the grinning skeleton. Well, skeletons always grinned, he supposed. I don't need any of those, but thank you, he said politely. What? Happy said in shock, his business tie flapping and his erratic emotions. I work for Fairplay, so I don't need business help. I don't know much about music. I don't mind milk, and parties make me nervous, Gentle said slowly. Boy, you don't work for Fairplay, you live Fairplay. It's a promotable lifestyle with high marketability and appeal to a younger demographic without a purpose, Happy said, and Gentle pulled back with a frown. Don't say that, my dad. He tries really hard to make Fairplay heroes for the people, he protested. I have little doubt. Philly is an idealist, but heroism doesn't pay for transport, food, ration, supplies, medical care, family insurance, equipment, and snazzy uniforms, Happy said slyly, eyeing Gentle's scouting uniform. What's wrong with being heroic and supporting your people at the same time? Gentle asked, hugging himself as one of the goblins tried to sell curious passers-by glowing mushrooms and silk shirts. Ideally, nothing at all. But while you can pay people in coin, you can't pay them in heroism, like filling them up with fluff. When it becomes about lessening the damage you do instead of promoting the good, a company stops being heroic and evolves into a new beast. You have hungry men role-playing as knights, the cocky masquerading as the wise, then leaders pretending they wield the sword instead of a pen, Happy commented, and turned on his bony feet. You don't know anything about my dad, or how he runs the company. You're just like those in town, all plans and comments, but no action. Dad, he... Gentle struggled with an old flash of memory, watching people sneer at his father when his back was turned, mocking his plans when their own were worse. Gentle's dad was brave, but human. You're right, in a way. I'm just a pile of old bones in the middle of nowhere. I don't know anything about Fairplay as of now. Apologies, my boy. My jaw rattles without care sometimes, the skeleton said, sounding more somber now, and a dark aura leaked off his bones for a moment before he contained it. For a split second, Gentle tasted the manna, a deep, profound sadness, and very happy. Mr. Happy, I'm sorry, he began, but the man turned around with 3 more business cards. So, you'll call me when you need a singer or a comedian? He asked, his empty skull socket seeming to gleam with passion. Gentle stared at him before his eye was caught by something. Happy looked over and hummed. Hob and Gob's Epic Emporium. A fresh investment of my time. You won't find much loot here, but I do provide puns to all customers upon sale, Happy explained. Gentle wandered off, confused. I thought the dungeon stuff doesn't last outside the dungeon, unless someone infuses their mana into it. Botanists and medical people do herbs and rare plants. Miners do alls. Adventurers with weapons and magical items, you know? He asked Happy, as he watched different items being moved between the goblins and a jolly woman who looked to have dried blood on her face. Good afternoon, missus. You're recovering nicely from your battle with that knight, Happy called out, and the woman turned. Gentle saw she looked a little, feral, with a piece of her face partially wooden. Ah,
Very. I was hoping to ask if you reconsider donating a leg or two to my garden. Bone meal as potent as yours would do wonders for my fan cabbages, the woman asked without a hint of malicious intent. Such a transaction would cost me an arm and a leg, the skeleton coughed. Okay, maybe next time, the woman hummed and walked off, winking at Gentle, who felt the slumbering titan of power had just pinched his cheek and walked away when it could have destroyed him. Small man, one of the goblins called out, and he was wearing a strange orange uniform with a triangle on the breast pocket. It was a strange modern shirt of sorts, with buttons and a collar. Me? Gentle asked, looking around for other people. Yes, he wants special soa sigil rock, the lead one asked, and Gentle tilted his head in confusion. Hey, what? The second goblin picked up a carved rock with a weird symbol on it and tossed it into the blackened field next to the stall. It landed with a clatter, and Gentle was about to ask what it did when the field erupted into a fireball of force, sending soil flying. That's a lot of damage, the goblin screamed in primal delight. Should you be selling that to children? Gentle asked, as his ears had a ringing noise in them. Down the street, Dio chased a sour-looking kid with an orange tongue, throwing smaller pebbles at the other boy's head. The sour one turned and threw a whole rock at Dio, who simply charged through the explosion with soot and grin. We only carved the symbols sort of right, much less boom, the second goblin with the name tag that read Hob announced. The other goblin gestured to a locked chest with what was barely holding closed with a mountain of similar rocks. Messing up of those. They do too much boom and pop and screams, the goblin said calmly. Gentle was about to ask more when fellow fair play people swarmed the store. Potions? Any potions? A woman asked rudely. I'll take 10 swap-bombs. Screw him! I want 2 of the bigger swap-bombs. Gentle saw the Fairplay folk were not bartering in coins but items, daggers with gems, odd ropes, out-of-date Fairplay equipment, and more. Weird. On the side, there were folded-up dumpling-like things with a sign that read a free dungeon hint inside for every fortune dump. The price for those was stupidly high. An enchanted weapon, a potion. The goblins were even asking for books, maps, and more. Very happy, handed him one from his pocket and hummed as he walked off. Gentle looked inside the dumpling, and the snack itself was quite delicious. His hint was a single line. Don't aim for gold. Silver and lower is better for body count. Delta felt that she was trying to pass a kidney stone. What's going on up there? She asked, curled around her core with a groan. Alpha was quiet for a time before he shook his head. Fair play. They were building a massive gate outside of town. It was drawing mana before I came down here, he explained softly, sounding helpless, and Delta pushed her pain down and sat down, forcing a smile on her face. There was no need for her to upset Alpha. I hate them, Rudy said briskly, draining a flagon of sweet ale as she lounged on the beach at Delta's 4th floor, looking every bit like a castaway who accepted her new life. A life of free food, beer, and sunny skies. Any idea what this gate is? Delta asked Rudy, so happy to be talking to people, 2 people at the same time, both who could see her. It was like finally getting the attention of the classroom who had been bored of the lesson before. Gate portal system. It's a hole in space that connects 2 gates as long as both sides have enough mana. They travel along the mana veins of the land for near-instant transportation, Alpha said factually. Good thing I've been pumping mana into the land, or they'd be stuck, Delta mused. She focused on the kidney stone pain and found that there was a slight feeling of flowing. She followed it for a moment to find it vanished into a swirl of chaotic magic that made her normal mind hurt. Give me a second, she warned Alpha and Rudy before she exhaled and flipped on her dungeon mode. The dungeon, the people, the monsters, all of it dissolved into the ever-expanding network of mana boats, a network of connections that shifted like an ocean. From her domain, a constant drain of her energy was flowing to a growing tear in space. Orange being converted to void. No, not void. A harshly scrubbed essence. It was like someone had run steel wool over the priceless piece of art. It was a loss. She tilted her head like an owl, and the ocean and connections reformed like a giant orb of mana, with Delta being the sun. The space was a universe. Her bosses circled her, ran and stalwart planet of sand and rising metal spires roamed by titanic bore. Wyam, a verdant green planet that was overwhelming with lush vines and the sweetest of fruits on the surface. But the skies were blocked out by mile-long thorns that leaked acidic fluids. Jelligan was a tiny rock, barely more than a moon, but his gravitational pull was so absolute that the more ruin in this universe that occurred, the more rapid his moon would become a gigantic crowned storm planet. All around her, life forms and forming fields of light represented all in her universe. She looked around and saw Alpha, a massive galactic titan formed of stars around a central core, his form wreathed in powerful robe, a sword in one hand and a staff in the other. He was outside her universe, yet inside. They should have clashed, but their efforts had made them coexist. Between them, distant ripples in the dark could be felt. Delta saw something slashing at the dark with a keen edge, the hand holding it not visible. While in the other direction, a hydra with heads of a dragon, goat, cat, dog, fish, and more continued to roar, entwined in sickly roots which pointed the beast this way, and that at the behest of some unseen puppeteer. Delta could only hold on to the state for so long as she focused on the white hole forming on the edge of her kingdom. She reached forward. The GPS hummed in its completed glory, a sleek silver oval formed by two metal fang pillars crossing each other, the space in the middle peeling back like a curtain. 5 crystals of purified mana coated the pillars, the 5th at the very top. No one saw, no one could see, the tinges of orange seeping into the pure whiteness. The only thing that was noted was that the portal was extremely stable by fair play standards, a good sign they all told each other. Delta inhaled and returned back to her normal senses. She couldn't quite absorb the gate or do much since it was outside a dungeon, but what she had done was quite simple. Everyone who passed through the gate would donate just a tiny portion of the mana to the dungeon. This would begin the seed conversion process before they even stepped in the dungeon. There was a slight hiccup in some of the safety procedures, but Delta was confident that it was fine. Absolutely, positively, definitely sure. It was fine. Kaline watched the first of the proper teams of Fairplay arrive. Something was amiss, but he couldn't quite put his finger on exactly what. Did HQ update the uniform to have summer shorts? One of his fellows asked, and Kaline blinked and looked down at the man and woman walking forward, oblivious to the fact that the uniform had shorter sleeves and trousers. It wasn't just that. More than a few complained about a sudden experience of tighter, smaller garments. "Portal gave me a damn wedgie," one announced. Why were the clothes shrinking in the portal? End of chapter. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Parky, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Azrakul, and Arcadian.